Hi sweeties, how are you doing? Welcome to Nanyacim. If this is your first time of coming across this channel, sweetheart, kindly smash the subscribe button, turn on the notification so you get notified each time I upload, and please give this video a thumb up. I appreciate you, and I want to say a very big thank you to every one of you for always coming back to watch my videos and subscribing. You all are the real MVPs. So today we'll be talking about a white woman who raised an alarm that schools are changing the truth about slaveries, and she is very angry, and I am going to say that black people, they have been screaming this, they have been shouting, they have been talking about this for a long time, and I am going to say that if they think history makes them, because I feel like they think history makes them sick because they don't want to teach the real thing. This is more reason why they should be screaming and teaching the real history from the rooftop so that history does not repeat itself. I don't know if you understand what I am saying. With that being said, stay glued to the screen. Let me roll the clip so we all will hear what she got to say and what other people are talking about it. So let's get into it.
Hello, friends. I had a conversation with my friend's daughter the other day. She is a sophomore in high school. She goes to Springfield schools here in Missouri. And somehow we got on the subject of Black History Month. We were talking about, there's a black educator that I follow here on TikTok that's just brilliant. And this person had said they were changing the narratives in school. And so I asked my friend's daughter, I said, now, what do you guys learn about at Black History Month? Like, how did you celebrate it in the schools? And she said, well, you know, we talked about Martin Luther King and why he was important and, you know, some things about civil rights. And I said, well, what about slavery? Did you talk about that? And she said, some, not a lot. I said, so you never learned about the slave ships? She said, no. I said, does the name Harriet Tubman ring a bell? She said, I think so. I think she was a civil rights activist. I said, did they talk about how they used to sell human beings on the town square, that they would refer to black men as bucks, that they would steal babies out of the arms of screaming mothers and sell them to other people? Did they ever talk to you about the absolute horror that is slavery? She said, I don't really know what you're talking about. She said, it's a civil rights issue. Let me tell you, that scares me to death. It really does. And if we don't think that the powers that be aren't actively trying to change the narrative in our schools, you're wrong. You're wrong at best, delusional at worst. Let me tell you, I'm so upset by this. The only way forward for us as a human race is if we learn from our mistakes. And that means we have to take ownership of the things that happen that make up other people's histories. And someone said recently, well, I didn't own slaves. That's not my fault. Well, you know what? I didn't own slaves either, but my great-great-grandfather on my mother's side did. He owned human beings. And I can't even get my mind around that. But that does not give us an excuse to not tell the whole truth, the ugly, brutal, disgusting truth. That was slavery. That was the Holocaust. That was the genocide in Rwanda. Listen, we don't get to change history because it makes us sick. Do better.
Bombastic side eyes. Anyways, I like her sincerity and the ability or wanting to be involved and all that. And black people, they have been screaming this right from the onset. It's not something that started today. It is something they have been doing. It is something they have been saying, that the history, CRT they teach in school, high school, like it's kind of whitewash. It's not like proper history. And the best, I think it's okay that you all, the white women, the white people also start speaking and start telling their people to teach the correct history, because Black people have been doing that all these years. It is not like they have not. They have been doing that. So you all can also help Black people in screaming that. The truth is that they are ashamed of the history. They are not proud of the things they did, and they want to close it up. So that's why they do not want them to know what happened. And yeah, let's continue.
There is no national standard for what history is taught. Each state sets standards which outlines what students are expected to learn. CBS News took a look at the social studies standards for all 50 states and the District of Columbia. We found 7 states do not directly mention slavery, and 8 do not mention the civil rights movement. Only 2 states mention white supremacy, and 16 list states' rights as a cause of the Civil War, which Kendi says is a problem.
This was the term that the Confederate states, that later segregationists and even some slaveholders utilized to hide that they were really fighting for the rights of
Up to the
slaves.
states. And, you know, it's funny because I talked to a girlfriend of mine, her daughter's in high school, and she just got an A in her U.S. history class. And I told her about this story, and she said, we have to teach them. It's up to the parents. And I think there is sort of this unsaid thing, even especially in Black communities, that you're going to learn it from your family and not necessarily rely on the school to do it. Just because you look at these changes that they've made, this is in the last 5 years.
Yeah, that's very recent. Well, it's the most alarming thing you said in that story was that there were 7 states where slavery is not even mentioned.
Or civil rights. That's what I find so jaw-dropping.
Yeah.
And I think when you're a kid, you're reading the textbook, it doesn't occur to you to challenge it.
Right.
You need a story like this to let you know.
Yeah.
In honor of Black History Month, we need to talk about how we do not teach our children real history in schools. Oftentimes, we teach children that white people invented certain things that Black people were actually the inventors of. In fact, this is the list of standards that schools need to teach about inventors, none of whom are Black, even though during this time, Black people were inventing just as important of contributions towards American society. For example, when I was in school, I, as well as many of you, were probably taught that Thomas Edison invented the light bulb. Thomas Edison did not invent the light bulb. First of all, there were many people before Thomas Edison who created light bulbs, tried to get patents on them, and didn't get their patents. Thomas Edison got the first patent because he had a filament that actually worked. But even then, Thomas Edison's filament did not last very long, it was not practical, and it was not affordable. Lewis Latimer was the Black scientist who worked with and for Thomas Edison, who created the carbon filament that lasted much longer than Thomas Edison's filament. It was practical and it was affordable. So while the light bulbs of today use tungsten, which is actually longer lasting than carbon, Lewis Latimer's carbon filament is always going to be remembered as making light bulbs affordable and practical and long lasting for public use and at home. Lewis Latimer also drew up the blueprints for the telephone that Alexander Graham Bell, we were all taught, invented. He did not invent the telephone. Lewis Latimer also invented that. In 1890, Latimer also supervised the installation of public electric lights in New York City, Montreal, London, and Philadelphia. He also later became a part of Thomas Edison's elite research team and developed many inventions that got us to where we are today, including the toilets in railroad cars and the forerunner for air conditioning. Now, this isn't to say that Thomas Edison wasn't a huge contributor to American history when it comes to inventions and electricity, because he definitely was, but it is to say that we do not give credit where credit is due often when we teach our children American history. There are many times when I was taught things like Thomas Edison invented the light bulb, which he did not. Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone, which he did not. The Native Americans and the Pilgrims came together for a beautiful Thanksgiving dinner because they loved each other in peace and harmony, and that's why we have Thanksgiving. False. All of these things are false. And we need to stop teaching our children false, whitewashed history that makes white people look so great and like white people did everything. They invented everything. They built society themselves. Black people basically did nothing because the only times we are taught as children about Black history is number one, slavery. Number two, the Harlem Renaissance. I got like one lesson on that. And number three, civil rights with Martin Luther King Jr. And that's really it. And we don't even teach the full story of civil rights. We don't teach the full story of Rosa Parks, of Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King Jr., and how they were all three in on it together. Like they were working together to do these things that they did. I'll be posting more Black history videos throughout the week. Like, follow, and be sure to have a healthy discussion with someone in the comments.
You see, they always want to discredit Black people. They always, I mean, everything it's all about white because white is always immaculate. Black is always devil, you know? Black people never invented anything. Black people never did anything. Black people are good for nothing. You all can see it, right? And it's just amazing how the truth is that if they did not teach their own children the truth, they will still repeat because most of them are repeating history. I mean, the things that happened back then will keep happening because they are hiding the truth from the children. I keep saying, not until they are ready to take responsibilities, not until then, they are not talking. This is where I am going to call it a day. Let me know what you all think in the comment section and see you all in my next video. Bye for now.